so that if we think they don't consider what is important for us, we can find a way and change the way they do things. Because for now, ayisisebenzeli. In fact, it put us under very, very difficult circumstances.
Staying on matters relating to World No Alcohol Day, Association for Alcohol Responsibility and Education, better known as aware.org, runs ongoing campaigns and behavioral change education for responsible drinking and the eradication of underage drinking. Take a look at this.
We are aware.org, the custodians of responsible drinking in South Africa.
FAR's program really has an impact in guiding the mother through her struggles.
And all of a sudden, I'm being arrested. It's not a side that I care to see of me.
I've been going through so much, and you guys never saw what is going on in my life. My social worker especially, he actually made me feel amazing. He made me feel like a person again.
Having to do the job that I do, let me just say it gave me a reason to live again.
Here are some of those stories.
Let's speak now to the organization's CEO, Mokebe Thulo. A very good afternoon to you, Mokebe. Thanks very much for your time. It's not an exaggeration. It's backed by facts. Government talks about it ever so often, as they did today. We do have an alcohol problem as a nation, don't we?
Good afternoon, Vuyo, and thank you so much for having us. Thank you for giving us the platform. Good afternoon to your viewers too. Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely backed by facts. South Africa has a problem with alcohol. We have a problem with the way we consume alcohol as a nation, and we have a problem with the way we relate to alcohol, and this is for various reasons, one of which is that alcohol consumption has been so normalized in our communities that nobody even blinks twice when seeing somebody walking around holding a bottle, drinking liquor. The accessibility to alcohol is almost to a point of unacceptableness. And I'm not even just talking from a policy point of view when you have full-grown adults who are business owners potentially selling alcohol to under 18s. But I'm also talking about people in the household that are caregivers of the very under 18s whose behavior we're trying to change, sending that young child to a tavern, to a liquor store, etc., to purchase alcohol for them. I'm talking about the conversations that aren't had in the household about what alcohol is. What are the effects of alcohol? What are the consequences of indulging in alcohol at a young age? And what are the implications of overindulging and misusing alcohol? So yes, we do have a problem.
Wondering about the role that perhaps unconsciously at times, the role that plays. I'm thinking here of, if you look at people's social media posts, we pose with alcohol. This is what we're enjoying, whether we're having fun, whether it's after or during sad moments, think of after tears that we often refer to, whether we have serious mental or behavioral or social challenges. In other words, in every situation, alcohol is often a big part of what we do.
Yes, it's almost entrenched within our culture. I mean, if you think about most of the things that South Africans do on a celebratory basis, for example, they involve alcohol, and that doesn't need to be the case. There are so many alternatives out there to the abuse of alcohol, and I want to make it clear that it is World No Alcohol Abuse Day. So in our eyes, we have a completely zero tolerance when it comes to under 18s consuming alcohol. But we also believe in free choice. And after the age of 18, we believe a young person or an older person should have the inclination to be able to make the responsible choice. And that needs to be taught to them from a very young age. But the bottom line is the way in which we view and consume alcohol, rather than the existence of the substance itself.
When does alcohol consumption become alcohol abuse?
I mean, I'm certainly not a healthcare worker or a healthcare specialist, and I think that there's many healthcare specialists that may be able to answer this question, but I think the general rule of thumb is when it starts to interfere with your life, then it means that you probably have to have a look at what is going on. You probably have to have a look at your relationship with alcohol. When you look at some of your behavior patterns, when you look at some of what you are exhibiting to even younger family members, is this the type of sort of role model that you want to be to your nephews and your nieces and other people within your circle? I think that is when you start thinking about investigating whether you have a problem or not, and you have to speak to the experts on this. You have to speak to the right people, and I'm certainly not that person.
Of course, there are the known effects of alcohol abuse, everything from, accidents on the road. We're talking about gender-based violence, or someone will say, I was intoxicated. We're talking about how relationships get broken, but also the consequences for others, as in the case of unborn children whose mothers would be drinking heavily during their pregnancies.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many consequences related to alcohol abuse. And as I said, we work under 3 pillars. The key pillar under which we pour most of our resources into is no to underage drinking. And the idea is that if we teach young people at a young age to be able to make responsible choices, whether the parent is there in front of them or not, whether the teacher, the caregiver, whomever is in front of them or not, they're able to think rationally and make good choices, then that makes them ahead of the curve in terms of when they are older than 18. So when it comes to drinking and driving, it's a choice that many people make. I mean, often we discuss the options that people potentially have in terms of avoiding drinking and driving. So the latest stat that we have is that 5.5% of road incidences are caused by alcohol consumption. There are various other reasons why there are incidences on the road, unbeknownst to many people. But people make the choice by not making the choice beforehand. By not planning ahead, you are making a choice. Because by the end of the night, and by the time that you've got your car with you and you've probably had 1 or 2 drinks too many, it's probably too late for you to be making the rational choice. And that's why we have to deal with the issue of alcohol abuse across the board. So back to our 3 pillars, the first one being no to under 18, the second one being don't drink and drive, and the third one being sober pregnancies, because we know that 11% of South African children are born with fetal alcohol syndrome disorder, which is caused by the pregnant mom consuming alcohol during her 9 months of pregnancy. And I think it's important to note here that it's not a problem that we blame on the mother. It's a societal problem. It's an all of us problem. And in order for us to find solutions to these problems, we have to speak to all of society. And I wonder, Vuyo, if even your viewers were to take a think right now about how complicit we all are in the system of watching people make wrong decisions and sitting back and saying absolutely nothing, whether it be your brother, your sister, your friend, etc., getting behind the wheel, knowing that they've had alcohol to drink. that's being complicit in this whole thing. We know that it happens. Sometimes people watch it happen. When it comes to visibly pregnant women consuming alcohol, these are things that we have to start taking part accountability for. The only way that we can change behavior, and this is a behavioral thing, it's not an overnight thing. And I'm glad that we have this day so that we can reflect on the problem. We can reflect on the scale of the problem, and we can start, maybe not start, but continue to identify where else we can solve for the problem. But it's not an overnight thing. This did not happen to us overnight. And so we have to fix it little by little. It's like, how do you finish eating an elephant one bite at a time? And that's what we are trying to do within our programs that we run on a national basis with the partners that we work with, whether it be the Department of Social Development, whether it be other implementation partners that work within the school space with our under 18s, recreation or education. But it is all about creating spaces for education and awareness so that people are aware of the decisions that they are making when they make them, that they are aware of the implications of the decisions that they make, and so that they can't turn around and say, oh no, I didn't know. And perhaps a person didn't know. And in that case, we even work in the rehabilitation space. So we've got a rehabilitation program for under 18s where they are able to go if they are already, for example, dependent on alcohol as a substance. But that's the other end of things. We want to get to things before the problem starts, before young people start experimenting. And it's a long process that we follow. When it comes to drinking and driving, we've got a program that we work in partnership with NICRO with. And this is a rehabilitation program for first-time offenders for DUIs, drinking under the influence. And if they get nabbed on the road, they get an opportunity to attend a 6-week course where they learn why you can't drink and drive. What are the consequences? What does it do to your system? What does it do to your reaction time? And the results are absolutely amazing to see. It's amazing to see the switch click in someone's head and for them to become ambassadors of this wonderful message. When we speak of FASD, we've got anecdotally the story of a woman that's in the Healthy Mother, Healthy Baby program that fell pregnant and drank during her first pregnancy. Her child was born with FASD. In her second pregnancy, she had attended the Healthy Mother, Healthy Baby program, and she knew that she could not consume alcohol during her pregnancy, and her child was born 100% healthy, and it makes all the difference in the world. So it is about the awareness, it is about the education, and we certainly can't do it alone. It's an all of society problem. It takes institutions that work in the space, it takes other organizations. It doesn't matter in which field you work in. It takes corporates. We welcome corporate support in terms of partnerships of how can we spread this message far and wide that people understand what it is we're saying. And also by being creative and meeting the consumer or the audience where they are and speaking their language and not sort of talking at them. I mean, people under 18s know that it's illegal to drink. They know that they shouldn't drink, but they do it anyway. Why do they do it? Because a lot of them have lost hope, anecdotally, about the future. They don't see themselves beyond a certain time. So they think, you only live once, let me try it. But if you give young people the tools and you show them that you are a maker of tomorrow, and this is what our umbrella under 18 program name is, that there's potential for you tomorrow, that the choices you make today affect your tomorrow. Then they start to get a glimpse of hope and they start to want to make the right decisions. So it's a long and sometimes tedious and difficult journey but it's also a rewarding journey because we are making a dent. And I mean, I read an article the other day
Yeah.
that said globally the consumption of alcohol all around had decreased by something like between 20 and 30%. And I think this was a WHO study. It is a global study, so I mean, we don't know what that means from a South African point of view, but all is not lost.
Yeah.
But we do have to do something, and each of us has to take responsibility for our part.
Indeed. We all have some work to do, and we are indeed responsible for the decisions that we make, including, of course, deciding that I'm going to spend my or the household's last pennies to buy alcohol instead of focusing on the household's priorities, but also including what do we do with a powerful industry that rakes in tens of billions of rands. What about that? Is the argument of jobs and the economy the only argument that needs to be made? Where do we strike the balance? But Mokebe Thulo, thank you very much for your time. She is the CEO of aware.org.